Hey y'all, it's Farley with Writer's Edge Podcast, and today we're going to have a conversation about vesicular stomatitis. Vesicular stomatitis, or VS, is the buzz right now in the horse industry. If you are out on the road in the western United States, or if you are headed to big events where people from the western United States may be coming to attend, you need to be aware of what's going on. So I've been on the road with Donna Kay for a month, and through the beginning of this outbreak and what's going on out in states like Colorado, Wyoming, Texas, New Mexico, and surrounding states, what they're doing about it. And I thought, let's just have a conversation today, because up until now, I'd always known about it, and you hear every few years about an outbreak going on out west, but I didn't really know about vesicular stomatitis. So I thought, let's have a learning session and get on the same page of what's going on and what we need to do as horse owners to protect our horses. So vesicular stomatitis, first off, is not a fatal disease. That is one of the reasons why they don't work on a vaccine for it, because it's not fatal. So they don't deem it, I guess, vaccine worthy. Vesicular stomatitis, what happens when your horse gets it is they typically will get blisters and sores in their mouth and lips and tongue, and they'll spike a fever, they'll go off feed. They can also have these blisters pop up at the coronary band, which will cause lameness. VS is caused by a virus. It incubates for anywhere from 2 to 21 days, which is part of the reason why when there is an outbreak, it is so hard to get a handle, because 2 to 21 days, that's a long time and a lot of variation that can happen. It is also a disease that can affect cattle, dairy, swine, and really what happens is the economic impact, because there is so much quarantine, interstate travel halted. When it gets into the swine and cattle industries, that can change international markets as well. Cattle get real upset about VS because it mimics foot and mouth disease, which was eradicated in this country in 1929. But it can look like other things that are much more scary or dangerous to the industry. However, it in horses, again, it is not fatal. It is endemic, where it just spreads rapidly. It can be spread by saliva, by flies, mosquitoes, horses touching each other. They even believe that humans can spread it. So it's very important to watch biosecurity measures, sanitation, things like that. Humans can contract VS, although it is very rare. In humans, it shows up rather as flu-like symptoms, fever, tired, achy, chills, that kind of thing. Again, it's very rare in humans, but this is a virus that goes across species. So what happens when you find out that you have VS is you get put under quarantine, and the state will track all your travel so that they can help continue to contain what's going on. If you're put under quarantine with VS, you're probably going to be done for the summer, let's be real. But what happens is you are under quarantine and cannot go anywhere until 21 days after the last blister is healed. I will repeat that. 21 days after the last blister is healed. That can be a heck of a long time, depending upon the severity that your animals were affected with it. Now, typically, VS comes in cycles. It only happens in the Western Hemisphere, and it tends to happen in the western aspect of the United States. Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Montana, New Mexico, Texas, those areas. And in my research, I did not find any indication why that is. I just know from keeping up with this in the past, it tends to be a western state kind of thing. Currently, as of, I believe today is July 28th, 2019, there are 134 premises in Colorado under quarantine, 37 in Texas, and 37 in New Mexico. They have just quarantined one in Wyoming also. So if you're out traveling, if you're still rodeoing or horse showing out in those states, this is a very busy time of year, especially for the professional rodeo contestants or even amateur. Everything is going on out there right now. You've got to really keep up with the requirements. There are a lot of rodeos. I just heard today of one requiring health papers within 72 hours of the event happening. Other places are requiring verification that you have not been within a certain distance of a quarantined area. When that is required, you have to call the State Department of Agriculture and get them to verify your address and how far out it is from any quarantine, or get them to write you up a report. When I was out on the road, I did see requirements like the state of Utah that does not have any cases verified yet. We're requiring permits to travel into the state. Now, however, that's all great and good, but if they're not checking them, then it's not helping the situation. And that is a problem for departments of agriculture across multiple states. Manpower, money power, all of that goes into effect to put those policies into effect. Will they put people out at these places to check them and not allow entry in? You know, how do you control interstate travel with points of entry? Sure, you'll get a lot of people to stop, but you'll have a lot of people coming in that don't go by the point of entry. Or you'll have people that stop and at the point of entry they don't check anything. So there's a lot of moving parts as well. So they're doing the best they can with the available resources they have. The last outbreak of VS, the last few ones, there was one in 95, there was one in 97. In those 2 years, there were over 300 ranches a year affected by the VS outbreaks. There was also smaller outbreaks in 2005, 6, and 7. So like I said, if you are out living among all of that, then you are up to date on everything. But if you are living, somewhere, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, or even points further east, then you may be going, well, I don't travel to Colorado in the summer with my horses, and so why does this affect me? Well, if you have qualified to a national competition or going to a bigger one where there will be people from multiple states coming, then you need to have a heads up on what's going on and what the signs and symptoms are. It's really puts into effect thinking about biosecurity for you and your horse. And we've talked about that before on Rider's Edge, biosecurity and what to do, not do. And it gets hard because a lot of biosecurity is basic. However, it is hard to practice, and often we forget about it, especially if we're used to being around our friends' horses and different things like that, where we're comfortable in the situation or the climate or whatever. So some points of biosecurity to remember is don't share tack or buckets or water hoses. When you are getting water at an event, don't put, and if it's a common water hose, don't allow the water hose to touch your bucket. Just allow the water to run out into your bucket. Try to keep nose-to-nose contact to a minimum. For me, I will spray a stall down with bleach. While it's not going to get rid of everything, it does. I know bleach kills a lot of things, and I do know it'll help slow some things down, because you don't know when the last time that stall was cleaned or who was in it, especially at these rodeos where stalls are getting used by multiple animals over a 3 to 8 day period, people coming in and out and returning. Other things to watch for are trying to control flies and mosquitoes and pests. That gets very hard, but it may be something of resorting to fly sheets, the fly boots. While I think they look super silly, they are very helpful at keeping them off of the horse's legs and reducing stomping and irritation. So that helps reduce stress, along with trying to slow down transmission. Another recommendation by the Department of Agriculture is to quarantine your traveling animals once you get home from the ones that don't travel. So if you can separate them by stalling or pasture, the recommendation I read was anywhere from 1 week to 2 weeks, and you'll see some variation on that. So just kind of basic things. You can't stop it. It's, again, vesicular stomatitis is not deadly. It will affect you by causing your horse to not feel well and being quarantined for a very, very significant period of time. It's just something to be aware of. Be aware of your requirements for interstate travel for getting into the event. Be aware of who's around you, where they might have come from. And you can do that by just simple visiting and putting in as many biosecurity measures as you can. If you're rodeoing and you're able to put up panels or electric fences and kind of pin your horses off by themselves, that might be a better option depending upon the environment than, say, stalling in a common barn. It's just trying to keep you and your horses safe. Again, it's not a deadly disease, but it is a bummer. It's a bummer disease, because if you've been working all summer and we're in the height of the summer season, there's a lot of rodeo left. There's a lot of barrel races left. There's a lot of horse show left in the summer, and a lot of big things coming up. The Youth World's happening in Oklahoma City this week. The NSBA World will move into Tulsa later on this month, along with the AQHA Select World in Fort Worth. And so you've got some very big competitions that people have worked all year to get qualified for. And so just keeping a heads up of what's going on community health-wise for our horses is very important. One way to do this, and I will put the link in the show notes, is a website called equinediseasecc.org. Here you can sign up for alerts, and the alerts that come through is anytime there is a quarantine or kind of a bigger mass biosecurity issue. I'm lacking a different word here, but they'll send you an email. So a horse in Pennsylvania contracts EIA. That'll pop through your email. 6 more quarantines in Colorado for VS. That'll come up. And you're going, gosh, Farley, I already get a ton of emails in my email box. I have found this very helpful. I've been on this listserv for probably about 6 months now, and just to kind of see what I thought and see if it would be helpful for people. And I've found it very helpful because it literally is only the facts, and all the information you need comes in the subject line. So it comes in, the state, what it is, then you can choose to open it. If you need more information after that, you can choose to click the link, and it will take you to a much longer factual paragraph on the website about that specific incident. So that's one way to help stay up to date, not only on VS, but other traveling concerns. I will also post in the show notes the latest of the 2019 VS outbreak from the USDA. And it shows all the counties in Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming that have active quarantines going on. And has some good links on where to go to get more information. Again, talk to your veterinarian if you are traveling. They'll be up to date on the requirements. Make sure you read your requirements for these big shows you're going to. They'll have their standard ones, and depending upon the location of them, they may change. They may require tougher ones with everything that's going on. If that's the case, they're going to let you know. But if you think they're in question, always call them. It makes it a lot easier getting there and getting into the show than not knowing what's going on. And everybody is, trying to protect the safety of your horse and of our horse herd in general, to help everybody keep going and headed down the road. So I hope this helped to kind of learn about VS. I thought it was super important just because, gosh, I see the headlines and I didn't really know what was going on until I started looking at it. So I hope that gives you the nitty gritty and helps you get down the road with your horses. If you need more information, like I said, there'll be good links in the show notes from the 2 websites that we give you. And that'll help you get a little further down the road. Call your vet. Call your state Department of Agriculture to talk to your state vet's office because their job is community health, and they'll be up to date on everything. So thanks for tuning in. And as always, I will see you down the road. Thank you for listening to the Rider's Edge podcast today. We appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for always helping us move the conversation forward. If you liked today's podcast, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing to this podcast, and consider leaving us a review so others can find us and join in on the conversations. You can also find more information by checking us out on our social media channels, including Facebook at Rider's Edge Therapy and Wellness, Instagram at Rider's Edge Therapy, and our website, www.ridersedgetherapy.com. It is there that you can book a consult for either you or your horse. Thank you, and as always, we will see you down the road.